Hello and welcome to Biogas TV Season 3, Episode 5. I'm Paul Green. I run a biogas advisory service. I'm here today with my co-host Alex McFarland of RNG Connect and Drew Puchot, who leads our offtake roundup at the end of the show. We continue to feature the nominees for the Giants of Biogas Awards. These awards are being given to people in our industry who have really moved the needle. Today's nominee is Jim Potter of RNG Energy Solutions. Jim's the legendary developer of over $4 billion in energy infrastructure. His Linden, New Jersey project is the world's largest food waste digester. Jim was the lead developer where he drove the siting, permitting, design, financing, and installation of this $500 million project. Today's episode is sponsored by POC. POC is the inventor of the Animox process, among many other powerful technologies. Animox is the most cost-effective biological denitrification process. It has applications in the treatment of digestate at biogas plants where ammonia management and digestate is an issue. Check them out at pocglobal.com, P-A-Q-U-E-S global.com. So, Jim, congratulations on being a Giants of Biogas nominee, and welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Excellent, excellent, and thank you for that nomination. I hope I can do you proud. I've
It's
known you for a long time, Paul.
it's been a great journey. I think above all, this space is kind of fun. I get out of bed in the morning and I have joy in my heart and feels like we're doing good work.
Yeah, for sure.
So we could take this any number of ways. I know you have a video to share with us. Do you want to just kind of give us a little overview of the Linden project to get going, or how do you want to start?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely. First of all, I got to correct a few things. It's not 90% complete, which was part of the sort of the a trailer that was sent out to everyone. It's 70% complete. It's important for me to start right up front and confirm that SJI, which is Southern Jersey Industries, for those of you who are not in call New Jersey home. Southern Jersey Industries is a large local distribution company for gas. And they are our primary partner and a good capital partner and are crucial to making sure this project comes to completion. They are also a major investor in the ag space and have a large fleet of ag sector digesters. So there's a little plug for my partner. I'm president of RNG Energy, and we started quite a while ago in identifying the prime areas where we could locate large food waste digesters. The first was Philadelphia. The second was there in the New York City metro region. And we proceeded with the development of projects in both locations, but New York was the one that took the lead. After the refinery that we were located on in Philadelphia had an incident where they had a large explosion, and they subsequently took the refinery into bankruptcy. In any event, we proceeded on with the full development, secured all the permits and approvals of a fairly complex project on a complex site. It's 21 acres. We have a long-term lease on 21 acres of a 31-acre site that borders the Arthur Kill River. Right across the river is New York City, we have incredibly good proximity to the waste source, both in central and northern New Jersey and New York City. Staten Island is across the river. The site was an interesting site in that it had to be elevated. It was the former site of American Cyanomed. American Cyanomed had been there for well over 100 years. There were some lengthy remediation that went on before we came to the site. The site had no further action notices or letters for both soil and groundwater. And there was a licensed site redevelopment professional, which is how they do it in New Jersey, that was in charge of the final remediation of the site. And we are the final remediation solution for the site with all the asphalt and concrete um, and other soils that are applied to the site to effectively cap the site. It was elevated 8 feet, which was a process in its own right, with DEP approved dredge spoils. And there was some interesting geotech um, challenges with the site. And in fact, the site has almost 5,000 piles. Previously, with the old industrial complex that was there, it had over 60,000 wooden piles, which is an interesting historic thing there. But we proceeded to add to that and put in up to almost 5,000 additional piles for the project. And so it's something that my team had never been involved with before, but we got through it, and the project is well on its way. There's almost 700,000 man hours that have been committed to the site so far. We expect to be complete fourth quarter of this year, where we're going to proceed with um, securing inoculum from the Linden Roselle Sewage Authority, which is about almost a mile away from us up Tremley Point Road, and a second source for nitrifying bacteria for starting up the aerobic tanks not far away either. And so we've got a pretty effective startup and commissioning plan that's progressing and maturing nicely right now. We have a major undertaking underway to start up this thing. Paul, is there anything I left out that I should add to this?
How
I,
about any color on permitting? How was that journey for you?
Well, there's permitting is always a challenge in New Jersey. The DEP was slow in processing permits, but they had a good team working on it. And the critical thing about the DEP is the DEP understands the regulations. And I tell that to a lot of people, and I get a lot of curious looks. But um, we've permitted a lot of projects in a lot of states, not just digester projects, but a lot of power projects. And if you're in a state where I'll throw this out, but if you're in a state where there's a younger audience within the state permitting agencies that don't fully appreciate and understand how to implement the permitting process on behalf of the state through their state implementation plan approvals process with the US EPA, it can cause or create some major problems. And the DEP, they know the regulations, and so we can design around that and manage that process very effectively. It did take a while, but we got through it.
You want to just touch
I would,
on the, oh, go ahead, Alex.
yeah, no, I think the other very interesting point about the development of this project is that you've got multiple feeding and depackaging locations around,
Mhm.
I guess the tri-state area or just New York and New Jersey. Maybe you talk a little bit about the business model there. Are these independent sites? Are they, how are they getting up and started before you get going, and what are they doing? And just very
Right.
interesting model.
Yeah. No, thank you for asking that. So our model is to have the mothership, which we're building now, be the location where all the substrate comes to. And we happen to be located within New Jersey, which just implemented some very favorable legislation on food waste diversion. It essentially requires the diversion of food waste if you produce over 52 tons a year. But So you
Well,
have that dynamic, but you also have everything that's going on within New York City with the implementation of the commercial waste zone. And so to
Can
capture
I
that, Mark,
pause you really quick right there? Because there's a requirement to divert food waste away from landfills, if I'm following correctly. But what does the, enforcement of that look like? Or what's the incentive behind that look like?
well, that's the critical question right there. The great thing about so you can't rely on legislation
Hmm.
alone, and you have to have a compelling cost reason for people to really want to do this.
Right.
If you were twice the cost of disposal of their current options, then people don't have any incentive to really divert waste, other than what the legislation requires. But in this case, we have sustainability, of course, which is important to a lot of communities. But more importantly, we have a really compelling price dynamic here, where we'll use the city of Linden as an example, or all of Union County actually sends all their waste to a Covanta waste plant in Rahway, and the gate fee there is $120 a ton. We are less than half of that. And so there is a really compelling reason for people to send their waste to us. In fact, we talk to every county recycling coordinator, and they are scrambling to figure out how to get it to us.
Mhm.
So there's that combination of cost dynamic and sustainability really captures the audience. And so we're getting a lot of attention in that regard.
That's
And of
a
course, we
carrot
need a
and
lot of
stick going
attention.
on. Yeah.
We need a lot of attention because this is a big plant. Yeah. We're doing the same thing in New York City. We're locating these deep packaging facilities in 3 different transfer stations in New York City, and 2 and possibly 3 in and around central and northern New Jersey. And what these facilities, they're located at existing transfer stations, and we have contracts with the largest haulers in that region, where when we locate the deep packaging system there, we get exclusive rights to all the organics they collect.
So 1,500 and some tons per day.
Yeah, it was originally permitted for 1,400, but the plant, the plant's design can actually accommodate more. So we went out and secured the permits necessary to allow us to do that. And we're most of the way through the process of getting those final amendments to those permits.
Nice. You want to pop your video up and we can get the tour?
Sure.
It's a good problem to have, too much feedstock.
Well, we don't know if that's the case yet, of course, but we're working on it. And let's see.
Got to show up at the gate.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the video. And I'm going to stop us right there. So I got to explain a couple things. This is about a month old. It was after one of the snowstorms, after the snow melted, so it's a really muddy mess right now in this video. The site drains really well. That's my home. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yes.
That's my home. I'm going there tonight. A lot of us spend a lot of time in that double wide trailer. But this is Tremley Point Road. This is also our boundary right here. This is Tremley Point Road. And the trucks will come in through this road and onto this weigh scale. There's actually 2 weigh scales. We have a lot of experience with moving lots of volume into project sites. In one digester project, we're moving 500,000 gallons a day of manure to our project via truck. That's actually more than what we're doing here. On another project we did, we were moving 2,200 tons a day of other solid waste material because it was a large biomass facility. And so we understand the importance of designing a system that can accommodate a lot of trucks really quickly. So double scales, we have a kiosk-based system. Truck comes in, waves a card across the screen, and all that information associated with the truck, the tare weight, and everything else, where it came from, is monitored here. We have a big control room. This is an admin building and control room right here. Right here is a biogas upgrading system using the Air Liquide biogas upgrade membrane system. One of the folks from RNG Energy has had a lot of experience with this at a separate site. It's a well-known system, been deployed a lot. It's a great system. We're just going to cruise through the site here. I'm going to talk as we go. So we have a buffer tank here. It's 1 million gallons. We have two pasteurization tanks here, or thermophilic holding tanks. These tanks allow us to meet the PFRP requirements. We hold the material in there for 18 hours at 138 degrees.
So you run batches, Jim?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we have two slurry tanks right here at 211,000 gallons each. And then we have a fog tank as well. So we're taking a broad spectrum of food waste and fog. Sort of interest to a lot of people is right here in about another month or two is going to be a 3.4 megawatt Bloom Energy fuel cell project. It's going to be supplying about 60 to 70% of the base load power requirements of the facility. We kind of like that. Provides emission-free energy source for the site, and it just provides that continuity on environmental stewardship, I'll call it. And we have a large power distribution #1 center right here. It's just a bunch of you walk in there and it's pretty amazing. There's multiple thousands of termination points and filled with motor control centers right there.
You're selling into British Columbia, I believe, and so what are you looking at in terms of CI score according to OpenLCA or GH Genius, whatever they haven't you used, right?
Yeah, it's GH Genius. Um, it's in the -80 range,
Yeah, great.
and it's most of this is landfill diversion, not all of it, but most of the waste is landfill diversion, particularly from New York City.
Hmm.
So we get a nice bump there. This right here is the truck discharge operations. The truck operator will not need to get out of his vehicle. We'll have a person here that connects them to a 600 gallon per minute pump. We have a separate building that holds the heat exchanger for the fog that we receive, that's then subsequently stored in this tank at a high heat temperature level. I missed this back here. We have two boilers here, and then a series of heat exchangers right in here. This is all pipe racked, a lot of pipe. There's over 90,000 feet of pipe for this facility.
Guess you got a high water table.
Yeah, can you see it? Yes, it's very high, but it's beneficial, and we're gonna get over there soon enough. But that's the Arthur Kill River. This is the Rahway River. By the way, the landowner was required under his permits to build a whole new bulkhead right here and to elevate the site that we discussed earlier. So there's a brand new bulkhead. We have a waterfront development permit that allows us to install um, uh, dolphin stations or dolphin piers in the water. And there's a high probability that, after we get this plant up and running, that we'll be pursuing barge operations from bringing in substrate from New York City. It's a much lower cost solution to trucking from New York City and paying all the tolls.
With the cargo shipping and the wooden piers underneath, I would say this is like a Venice of biogas, you know?
There you go. It's over 16 feet of elevation now. This is all, FEMA approved, and it was interesting. So we're going to take a run down here, but these are the 8 continuously stirred tank reactors.
Before you get there, Jim,
Shallow.
you've got a grit separation ahead of these, right?
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Actually, right under here, I don't know if you can see that. There's a building. We have a degridding operation. We have 3 trains in there of degridding, hydrocyclone and clarifiers. Veolia deploys these a lot. We really like this system. it's going to result in a super clean slurry that goes to these units, which is really critical. We have another digester that's seeing a lot of material, a lot of waste in it. And so this will go a long way in solving that problem. That's
The
that.
question came in here, a viewer is wondering about potential for plastic fragments that might show up in the feedstock. Is that a concern?
It's always a concern, and not just plastic, but a lot of other things too. Um, and so we go through two steps. One is the depackaging step, and then the second is this system. And then there's multiple screens and let's see, screw presses and centrifuges that all along the way will be pulling out all of that stuff.
Yeah.
We'll have
Okay.
a very clean digested solids material here. So I wanted to point out, this is our biogas upgrading system. We have 2 carbon filters here, lead lag cycle. That'll drop the H2S down to a manageable level for the biogas upgrading skid. And come on, someone's got to ask a question. What the heck is this thing? That thing right there is an elevated platform for a very large biogas holding system. And it's a fabric material, double layered fabric material that you elevate with fans. Actually, we've used similar systems for tank covers at other projects. This is a biogas holding system that will hold, I believe it's about a full day's worth of gas production. So it holds that raw biomethane here. Condensate comes out and lands into condensate pots below this. It's brought through here and into the air liquide system. Paul, tell me if I'm running too long on this.
You're doing great. This is awesome.
And these are
Okay.
gas mixed CSTRs, correct?
Yeah, you're seeing it, aren't you? Right there. This is Veolia's system right here. There'll be a series of pipes that are pulling gas from the headspace, bringing it down via a compressor. And there's a grid of pipes on the bottom of this that distribute that gas and mix it. This is really hopeful for this system because we've had mixing issues, the mechanical mixers at other projects, and I'm very hopeful for the performance of this thing without having to deal with side-mounted mixers and in-tank mixers. So these are 1.57 million gallons each digester. We have 8 of them, so 12.5 million gallons of CSTR capacity. We have, let's see, what else? Equalization tank there on the right, those smaller ones, that's 405,000 gallons. Recycled water tank at 100,000 gallons. And then we're going to come around. One more round here, Paul.
Yep.
And so
All the
you can
movies
see the
catching
pipe.
up. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, you can see the pipe rack design. Of course, we couldn't put everything underground here with the water table being what it was. So it's all above ground and hanging in these pipe racks. So this right here is another power distribution center. This right here is a building that it has 3 large Andritz centrifuges and some screw presses as well. And the function here, of course, is to produce and remove as much of the remaining solids as possible. And they've got a elevated platform. They got to do the pour on that, the concrete pour on that. Here's one of the doors, ceiling doors that are used to drop those units in through the roof. We have an MBR here, membrane bioreactor here, for doing a lot of good stuff. And so in the end, I'll start with the end. We have did about a 4,000 foot horizontal directional drill here with a force main that goes up to the Linden Roselle Sewerage Authority, which is 4,000 or 5,000 feet up the road. We have a long-term services agreement and permit with them to send our liquid fraction up to them. Of course, the cleaner it is, the better it is in terms of cost. We want to meet their tariff requirements, and so we've got an MBR system here, and I can't see the actual ZWeed tanks. They're down here. This is Veolia's ZWeed system, which has been deployed in thousands of locations throughout the world. It's very effective. We start with two large aerobic tanks. Those are 2.5 million gallons each. Talk about a big pour here. Trucks started coming in at 3 a.m. in the morning, and they went. There was 3 pumping trucks, and they went all day for each one of these. But there's a grid network blowing large volumes of air up through that liquid digestate. We inoculate it first and get it going with nitrifying bacteria, and then we got this pipe rack here, and in here and under there is the Veolia supplied membrane bioreactor, and this system we got a lot of confidence in this system. We have guarantees on its performance, and it's exactly what we need in terms of project financing. Of course, the whole plant was intended to be designed to accommodate whatever questions a lender's engineer might have, which is what we have. That's ultimately the the test we have to pass.
How many decatherms a year, Jim, are you going to finally make?
It's 3,800 a day.
Day. Okay.
So it's over a BCF. It's probably about a 1.2, 1.3 BCF. So
Can you comment on the project delivery method? You've got a single EPC contractor that bought all the process equipment. Is that correct?
Yeah. 1 second. I'm just going to finish up here,
sorry,
and we'll let this roll. This is a great thing. we have a building that's 320 feet long by 120 feet wide, and it's got a large amount of storage capacity for digested solids, and that's what that thing does. There's going to be 3 augers that come out of that dewatering operation right there, that building. By the way, there's the degridding operation right there. Oh, and I got to stop it right here. You know what I like about this one? There's our customers. That's New York City. That's why this site is such a great site. You can see we're surrounded.
Perfect site.
Yeah, it's heavy industry, a lot of liquid storage everywhere. I mean, not thousands, but certainly hundreds of acres of liquid storage. We're a mile away from the nearest residence, and there's heavy industrial activity down here on this site, which is a big part of obviously why we selected it and now control it through a long-term site lease.
A couple of interstate pipelines going through there as well.
Oh gosh. Let me see. There's 7 lines.
Yeah.
Liquid and gas. In fact, there's a nitrogen line. They use nitrogen as a cover gas for all these tanks.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
So our partner, SJI, owns Elizabethtown Gas, and they come down. I don't think they come down this road, or maybe they do. I'm sure my colleagues that are listening to this are laughing right now. I should know this, but they end up here. And so it's great that our partners are basically our first point of connection to the market. This gives you a feel for the industry surrounding our area.
Yeah, it's the perfect site.
There's your bulkhead. So And I gotta stop sharing somehow.
We can see it still.
Yeah, I know. Hmm.
So I noticed somebody did ask if there is a difference in the tipping fee depending on what kind of materials come in.
Well, there will be, but by and large, we expect that the highest amount of volume coming in will be source separated organics, restaurant waste. Um, just it's there's going to be this multiple hundreds and hundreds of sources with similar waste. We don't see a lot of single source waste coming here. But if that opportunity comes up and and we can take it, we of course we test it extensively and determine whether it's a viable feedstock source for the project, and we'll bring it in. But so there's going to be nonstop testing going on. We have a pretty extensive lab here at the facility as well.
And then another question was what will be done with the digester solids for final disposal or sale? I thought that was also interesting because we also get sometimes into that. We've seen some companies who are starting to take digestate and incorporate it into their own AD facility and generate biogas off of that.
The digested solids, we've got a good market in this region for digested solids. Mostly as acting as a soil amendment. What we see is that the disposition of this will be done in conjunction with um, other compost operations in the area, mostly leafy and grass composting that's done, and we'll blend our material with that to create a really optimized sort of composted soil um, arrangement.
All right, we're gonna throw a big party in October when you flip the switch on this thing, and I'll come for a visit.
Yeah, I'd like that. Anyone want to visit? They just give me a call and we'll do a tour. I'm always there.
Very well. There you have it. Open invitation to check this baby out. So thanks, Jim. Wonderful tour. Congratulations. You grabbed a wonderful site, and it's definitely an industry leading model project.
Mhm. Okay. Any other questions from folks?
There were a couple others, but one that probably were a little bit easier to answer. What's the total biogas inlet processing capacity? Uh, they said they missed that. They saw it. They heard you say the 3,800 decatherms per day output.
Well, I look at it. I always look at it from output because I associate output with money.
They can
Yeah.
do the
And
math. So assume 60% methane.
Yeah.
but the plant, this system has a lot of potential for expansion. Which is one of the great things about the Air Liquide system. You can expand it pretty easily. But right now, we can go way over 42 to 4,400 decks a day of gas in terms
Yeah.
of the capacity of the system. Um, in terms of production, it'll be in that 36 to 3,800 deck a day range.
Well, I thought that was interesting because we have had numerous companies come to us looking for biogenic CO2, digestate, raw biogas. The biogenic CO2 use has been for a number of different end purposes, but some of them are looking for food grade quality, some of them are looking for industrial quality. So far, it seems that the groups looking for raw biogas have been the most viable. Uh, for especially for projects that don't currently have haven't completed construction to the point of having pipeline injection, upgrading equipment already, included and covered and paid for. Organizations that have said, hey, this project might work, but we would need an offtake of a particular price, and if they could instead focus on an offtake for just the raw biogas and leave out
Mhm.
those CapEx costs, it would pencil a little bit better. And I also bring
Hey,
that.
Whittier, What are your thoughts on CO2 recovery, Jim?
Boy, we've taken it pretty far, and that is, I'd put that in the category of upside potential. We have a long list of upside potential here, including um, barge operations. That's a huge upside potential, but also CO2. We have, we're in the New York City market. That apparently the closest CO2 production facility is down in the Philly area. We have a great site and an operation here with a biogas upgrading system that'll produce a very high grade CO2 emission. And there's a lot of interest from a lot of players to do that. We're probably going to do that, but at this stage of the game, we're focused on getting this plant done and up and running.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, starting to watch the clock a little bit here. Any other parting thoughts, Jim, before we say thank you?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to introduce the project to everybody. And like I said earlier, if anyone wants a formal tour of the site, they can just reach out to me and we can coordinate it. I'm down there almost every week.
Nice. Good. Thank you again so much, Jim. Very exciting, very impressive. So
Yeah,
we'll
thank
wrap
you.
today's episode with Drew. You're going to have a little bit of an RNG offtake roundup for us.
Yeah, and I noticed that Diana asked, are environmental attribute values in the range of $20 to $25 per gigajoule still achievable today? And what are the key factors driving that price? Um, Diana, I'm not sure if you were, since you said gigajoules, I want to assume that you're talking Canadian dollars per gigajoule. Um, with that in mind, I would say yes. With uh, USD per MMBTU, I would say it's a little bit trickier. We currently are looking short-term offtake pricing around between $17 and $18 for 1 year. And that's primarily for projects starting or gas availability in this year. Um, Prices have certainly been depressed a bit over the last year and a half, and Set 2 came out last Friday, which we hope to see some improvement on that over the next 2 years. But so far, the market's reaction has basically been relatively small. We saw D3 prices go from about 240 to 244, and LCFS prices have been remaining in the low 60s, $60 to $62 price range for the credit. So offtake has been primarily driven by dispensing and the ability to get RNG to dispensing. Long-term voluntary offtake has been slow. There's been development within the international space and the LNG bunkering space, which hopefully will lead to future opportunities for projects like the Linden project for LNG bunkering. But we still have this bottleneck for getting RNG out of the U.S. to Europe, which, as Alex mentioned earlier in the show, the announcement from Anu is assuming that RNG is coming from Europe, to supply LNG bunkering in Europe. But Singapore has been a growing opportunity. And I wanted to touch real quick on the fact that we've seen diesel pricing nationally rise to roughly $5.38 a gallon. And that's been a helpful improvement. It's looking like we're getting more and more feedback from CNG conversion companies that the transportation market is increasingly looking at CNG as an opportunity. That would support higher pricing because we'd have more availability to get to the dispensing market. But dispensing for RIN and LCFS, the haircut that we're seeing in the market currently for RIN and LCFS pricing has been around 25%. We've seen offers as high as 28% and heard rumored of prices or shares as high as 30%. So if you look at that 28% price point as an example and a 244 RIN, you're looking at roughly $20.50 per MMBTU, and that's with the risk of the price volatility for that RIN contract. So that's just why we're seeing term offtake a bit lower than that.
Okay. We all square, Drew? We're good?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that. And again, thank you, Jim, for your presentation. And that's today's show. We'll see everybody next time. Next Monday, we'll have Brian from Raceline joining us, talking about his work at Raceline. So we'll let you guys run. Thanks for joining.